Why only empathetic people are able to destroy narcissists. Have you ever walked away from someone who once made you question your reality, only to realize later how much power you truly had over them? Have you ever wondered why narcissists fear certain people more than others? If you've had any kind of relationship with a narcissist, romantic, familial, or professional, you know how deeply manipulative they can be. They twist the truth, they play games, they make you feel like you're losing your mind. But here's something most people don't understand. Narcissists are not invincible. In fact, they have a fatal weakness, and it's not what you think. That weakness is empathy. Yes, the very thing that makes you vulnerable to their manipulation is also the one thing that gives you the power to destroy them completely. Because while narcissists thrive on chaos, control, and emotional dominance, empathy disrupts their entire system. It exposes their lies. It strips them of their power. And when an empath walks away not out of anger, but out of clarity, they leave behind a wound that never heals. So if you're ready to uncover the hidden truth about why only empathetic people can truly destroy narcissists, and how your compassion becomes your greatest weapon, then keep watching. Because today, we're diving deep into the psychology behind this dynamic and revealing why empaths hold the key to dismantling a narcissist's world. And if this resonates with your own experiences, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on emotional healing, personality disorders, and reclaiming your life after toxic relationships. Let's get started. Let's begin by addressing a common misconception. Many people believe that narcissists target weak individuals, that they choose victims who are easy to manipulate, emotionally unstable, or dependent on others. But the truth is far more complex and disturbing. Narcissists don't target weak people. They target strong ones, kind ones, compassionate ones. The very people who possess qualities they lack, like empathy, integrity, and emotional depth. They gravitate toward empaths, because empaths offer something they desperately need: emotional validation, unconditional support, and a mirror that reflects the humanity they buried long ago. But instead of cherishing that connection, they exploit it, they drain it, they twist it, until the empath begins to doubt themselves, lose confidence, and eventually walk away. And that moment, the moment the empath decides to leave, is the beginning of the narcissist's unraveling. Because unlike other types of people, narcissists cannot survive without empaths, and when they finally realize that, they panic. Here's the first reason empaths are uniquely capable of destroying narcissists. They see through the mask. Most people fall for the charm, the charisma, the carefully curated image a narcissist projects. But empaths, they sense the disconnection. They feel the emptiness. They recognize the manipulation before most even notice it. Empaths don't just hear words, they feel energy. And the moment a narcissist steps into their presence, they know something is off. They feel the imbalance, the insincerity, the hunger beneath the smile. And that awareness is dangerous to a narcissist, because narcissists rely on people seeing only what they want to show. When someone sees beyond that, when someone recognizes their true nature, they become terrified. And that's why narcissists either try to break empaths down or push them away entirely. Second, empaths expose the narcissist's core wound, their inability to love. Narcissists may mimic affection. They may perform romance. They may give gifts, write poems, or declare undying devotion. But no matter how convincing they seem, there's always something missing: genuine emotion. Empaths feel this absence immediately. They crave real connection, real vulnerability, real intimacy. And when they realize that a narcissist can never give those things that they're faking, every expression of love, every gesture of kindness, every moment of affection, they begin to pull away. And that withdrawal hits harder than any argument ever could. Because narcissists don't fear rejection from ordinary people. They expect it, they ignore it, they deflect it. But when someone who truly saw them, someone who gave them love, understanding, and emotional support, decides to walk away, it shatters their illusion of superiority. And that is the beginning of their destruction. Third, empaths stop feeding the narcissist's ego and that leaves them powerless. Narcissists live on admiration. They depend on praise, validation, and emotional supply. Without it, they begin to unravel. Empaths unknowingly become their primary source of fuel, not because they agree to it, but because of their natural tendency to care, to listen, to give second chances. But when empaths finally wake up to the truth and cut off that supply, whether physically, emotionally, or mentally, it creates a void the narcissist cannot fill. They search for new sources of validation. They chase new victims. They attempt to recreate the connection they once had. But nothing compares. Because no one gives energy the way an empath does. No one listens like an empath. No one loves like an empath. Even when that love was manipulated. And when that love disappears, the narcissist begins to weaken. Not because they miss the person, but because they miss the feeling of being admired without effort. Fourth, empaths challenge the narcissist's false identity, and that terrifies them. Narcissists build their lives around a false self, an image so powerful, so captivating, that it hides the fragile, insecure child underneath. But empaths don't buy into that image. They don't worship at the altar of the narcissist's ego. Instead, they reflect back the truth, sometimes subtly, sometimes unintentionally. They ask questions that make the narcissist uncomfortable. They refuse to flatter or validate every move. And that quiet resistance threatens everything the narcissist has built, because narcissists cannot tolerate being seen for who they really are. And empaths are often the only ones who do. So when an empath walks away, it's not just a loss, it's a direct challenge to their entire existence. And that challenge lingers like a shadow they can never escape. Fifth, empaths are the only ones who truly understand the narcissist's pain without falling for their games. Empaths don't just see the surface behavior, they feel the suffering underneath. They sense the trauma, the fear, the brokenness that shaped the narcissist's defenses, and that understanding is incredibly powerful. Because narcissists spend their entire lives hiding from their own wounds. They avoid therapy, they reject introspection, they rewrite history to protect their ego. But empaths see the truth. And when they finally stop giving energy to someone who refuses to heal, they send a message louder than words. You are not worthy of my compassion anymore. And that message cuts deeper than any insult ever could. Sixth, empaths don't react emotionally, and that takes away the narcissist's power. One of the narcissist's favorite tools is emotional reactivity. They provoke arguments, they gaslight, they create drama just to watch you fall apart. But empaths learn quickly. They begin to observe rather than react. They start recognizing patterns. They detach from the chaos. And when they do, the narcissist loses their greatest weapon, your emotional response. Suddenly, their insults land flat. Their provocations go unanswered. Their attempts to trigger you fail. And that silence? That detachment? That refusal to engage? It breaks them. Because narcissists cannot function in a vacuum. They need someone to react, someone to feed their ego, someone to keep the game going. And when they face a wall of calm, they begin to crumble. Seventh, empaths don't seek revenge, and that makes them unstoppable. Many survivors of narcissistic abuse struggle with the desire to hurt the narcissist back, to expose them, to make them suffer the way they did. But empaths rarely take that path. Instead, they focus on healing, on growth, on rising above the toxicity. And that choice to forgive, to let go, to move forward, is the final blow to the narcissist's ego. Because they expected rage, they expected retaliation, they expected bitterness. What they didn't expect was peace. And when they see the empath thriving, happy, whole, free, it stings in a way they can't explain. Because the empath doesn't need to destroy them. The empath simply chose to walk away. And that act alone is enough. Eighth, empaths set boundaries, and that destroys the narcissist's control. Boundaries are the enemy of narcissism. Narcissists thrive on blurred lines, shifting expectations, and constant uncertainty. It keeps their victims confused, anxious, and dependent. But empaths learn to set clear, unshakable boundaries. They say no without guilt. They walk away without explanation. They remove themselves from situations that no longer serve their growth. And that level of self-respect is foreign to a narcissist. Because narcissists have never learned how to honor boundaries, either their own or anyone else's. So when an empath sets a boundary and sticks to it, the narcissist feels trapped, confused, helpless, because they suddenly realize they can't manipulate someone who knows their own worth. And that realization is the beginning of their downfall. 9th, empaths carry light, and that light blinds the narcissist. Empaths radiate positivity. Not fake positivity, not forced smiles, but a deep inner glow that comes from living in alignment with truth, love, and purpose. And that light is unbearable to a narcissist, because narcissists live in darkness, in deception, in emotional isolation. They pretend to be happy, they act like they have everything together, but inside, they are hollow. And when they encounter someone who is genuinely whole, who doesn't need external validation to feel complete, they feel exposed, because the empath's light reveals the cracks in the narcissist's mask. It shows the world, and the narcissist himself, what he has been hiding all along. And that exposure is more damaging than any confrontation. 10th, empaths shift the energy in any room, and that makes narcissists powerless. Empaths have a unique ability to change the emotional atmosphere of any space they enter. Whether it's through their presence, their words, or their silence, they bring peace where there was conflict. And that peace is the opposite of what narcissists want. Because narcissists thrive on tension, on drama, on emotional instability. When an empath enters a situation and shifts the energy, the narcissist finds themselves unable to stir up chaos. They can't provoke the usual reactions. They can't control the conversation. And that helplessness eats at them. Because for the first time, they're facing someone who doesn't play their game. Someone who brings balance instead of disorder. And in that balance, the narcissist's influence fades. 11th, empaths speak truth, gently, and that unnerves the narcissist more than aggression ever could. A narcissist expects yelling, fighting, emotional outbursts. But when an empath speaks calmly, clearly, and confidently, it unsettles them, because they know that gentle truth carries more weight than loud lies. Empaths don't need to raise their voices to be heard. They don't need to argue to prove a point. They simply state their reality with quiet authority. And that kind of strength is terrifying to a narcissist, because it means they're no longer in control. It means the empath has stepped into her power. It means the empath is no longer afraid. And when an empath stops fearing them, the narcissist's entire world begins to shake. 12th, empaths attract people who see through narcissists, and that isolates them further. Empaths are magnetic, not because they demand attention, but because they draw in other kind, authentic souls. And those souls begin to see the narcissist for what they are. They notice the inconsistencies, the emotional manipulation, the pattern of exploitation. And slowly, the narcissist finds themselves surrounded by people who no longer fall for their charm. Because the empath's presence changes the collective perception of the narcissist. Friends begin to question, family members grow suspicious, new partners hesitate. And that isolation is devastating to a narcissist. Because narcissists need people, they need admiration, they need control. And when the empath leaves, they don't just lose one person, they lose access to everyone connected to that person. And that ripple effect is more damaging than any single confrontation could ever be. 13th, empaths teach others how to set boundaries, and that spreads like wildfire. Once an empath wakes up and starts protecting herself, she begins teaching others how to do the same. She shares her story. She helps others recognize red flags. She empowers people to stand firm in their truth. And that knowledge spreads. Soon, the narcissist finds themselves surrounded by people who no longer fall for their tactics. No more gaslighting, no more hoovering, no more silent treatments, because the people around them now know how to spot the manipulation and how to shut it down. And that growing awareness becomes the final nail in the narcissist's coffin, because a narcissist can only operate in the dark. Once the lights come on, they have nowhere left to hide. 14th, empaths stop believing in the narcissist's narrative, and that ruins their mental grip. For years, the narcissist told stories about you, about how unstable you were, how sensitive, how difficult. But when you stop believing those stories, when you stop chasing explanations, apologies, or closure, you strip the narcissist of their narrative. You stop playing their game. You stop trying to fix them. You stop explaining yourself. And that silence speaks volumes. Because narcissists depend on their victims to defend themselves, to fight back, to prove them wrong. But when the empath says nothing at all, the narcissist realizes something terrifying. Their words no longer hold power over you. And once that happens, they begin to lose power over everyone else too. Because if the empath isn't afraid of them, why should anyone else be? 15th, empaths heal, and that makes the narcissist feel broken. Perhaps the most painful truth for a narcissist is realizing that the empath is healing while they remain stuck in their cycle of manipulation and control. While the empath is reading books, attending therapy, reconnecting with loved ones, and rebuilding her life, the narcissist is still trapped in old patterns. They continue discarding people. They continue rewriting history. They continue searching for the validation they lost when the empath walked away. And the contrast between your growth and their stagnation is impossible to ignore. Because narcissists don't evolve, they repeat. And when they look at the empath and see how far she's come, they begin to feel the weight of their own failure. And that weight crushes them. 16th, empaths teach the world what real love looks like, and that makes the narcissist obsolete. Empaths don't just walk away from narcissists. They go on to build healthy relationships, deep connections, authentic bonds. And in doing so, they reveal the difference between real love and the twisted imitation narcissists offer. Real love doesn't require control. Real love doesn't thrive on manipulation. Real love doesn't punish honesty. And when the empath demonstrates this to the world, it highlights the narcissist's emotional poverty. Because while the empath grows into a fuller version of herself, the narcissist remains emotionally arrested, stuck in a loop of blame, projection, and self-deception. And the more people see that, the less power the narcissist has. 17th, empaths stop giving the narcissist the spotlight, and that makes them invisible. Narcissists live for attention. And when the empath walks away, they lose their biggest audience. They no longer have someone who listens to their rants, defends them, or tries to justify their behavior. And that silence is deafening. Because narcissists need someone to witness their performance. Without it, they feel unseen, unheard, irrelevant. And relevance is everything to a narcissist. So when the empath removes herself from the equation, the narcissist is left grasping for anyone who will give him the energy he used to take for granted. And no matter how hard he tries, he'll never find another source quite like the empath. Because empaths are rare, precious, powerful. And when they stop giving energy to narcissists, they take away the very thing that kept the narcissist alive emotionally. 18th, empaths teach others how to rise, and that builds a movement of empowered people. Empaths don't just heal quietly. They inspire, they guide, they lead by example. And as more people follow the empath's path, the narcissist influence shrinks. Because the more people who learn to trust their intuition, set boundaries, and walk away from toxicity, the fewer victims the narcissist can find. And when a narcissist runs out of targets, they begin to disappear. Because narcissism thrives in secrecy, in confusion, in emotional fog. And empaths bring clarity. They bring awareness. They bring healing. And that healing is contagious. 19. Empaths stop needing the narcissist's approval, and that makes them untouchable. One of the narcissist's strongest tools is making their victim believe they need their approval to feel whole. They gaslight, they isolate, they make their victims doubt themselves. But empaths eventually learn to trust their gut again. They rebuild their self-worth. They stop seeking validation from anyone who doesn't respect them. And that transformation is irreversible. Because once an empath understands her value, She becomes immune to the narcissist's influence. And when they see that, when they realize they no longer have the power to make you feel small, they begin to feel powerless. Because the only way they ever felt strong was by breaking someone else. And now, no one is breaking. 20th, empaths shine brighter than ever, and that blinds the narcissist. After walking away, many empaths experience a spiritual awakening. They discover their purpose. They reconnect with parts of themselves that were buried under years of manipulation, and as they rise, they begin to shine in ways the narcissist never expected. They publish books, they speak publicly, they build communities, they become coaches, writers, healers, and warriors, and the narcissist watches from the sidelines, silently raging at the injustice of it all. Because he tried to break the empath. He tried to make her doubt herself. He tried to convince the world she was unstable. But none of it worked. Because the empath found her strength in the darkest moments. And now, she's using that strength to change lives, including his future victims. And that is the most devastating form of justice possible. 21st, empaths stop fighting and start healing. And that makes the narcissist irrelevant. Most people who leave narcissists try to explain, to justify, to win an argument that was never theirs to win. But empaths eventually stop wasting energy on that. They stop arguing, stop defending, stop reaching out. They simply walk away and begin to heal. And that healing is the final blow. Because the narcissist wanted a war. He wanted a battle. He wanted the empath to stay trapped in the past. But when the empath moves on, truly moves on, he realizes he no longer matters to her. And that irrelevance is worse than hatred. Because hate still gives them a place in your mind. But indifference erases them completely. Finally, let's talk about what this means for you. Because if you've survived narcissistic abuse, you might still carry scars. You might still wrestle with self-doubt. You might still feel the weight of what happened. But here's the truth. You were never the victim. You were the catalyst. You were the one who showed the narcissist what real love looked like, what real compassion felt like, what real strength sounded like. And in showing them that, you exposed their weakness. You revealed their fragility. You taught them that they are not invincible. And when you finally walked away, you took their power with you. Because narcissists don't gain strength through domination. They gain it through deception. And you were the only one who ever saw through it. So yes, they tried to destroy you. But in the end, you destroyed them first. Not with revenge. Not with cruelty. But with clarity. With courage. With compassion turned inward, where it belongs. And that is the most powerful form of justice there is. Thank you for watching. If you found value in today's video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this content with others who might benefit from understanding the mind of a narcissist and the incredible strength of empaths. Remember, you are not alone. You are not crazy. And you are not to blame. You are strong. You are wise. And you are worthy of a life filled with love, peace, and authenticity. Keep going. Keep growing. Keep shining. Because the world needs your light, and you are finally free to give it.